Hello, beloved listeners. It's Aldo. Bears 100 Proof went really, really long. So I'm releasing it in 2 parts. This is how our Tuesday night began.
Hey, quick question. Is Tweets of the Week coming pre-Baxter or post-Baxter?
Pre-Baxter.
Pre-Baxter?
Yeah, we're going to try to get everything in before we do the interviews with the exception of Trey, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we better get started now.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
I say you want to be starting something.
What are you doing, Shane?
Sitting on a toilet. What do you think I'm doing?
He's finding his tweets. Is what he's doing.
No, I got him. Phil. I already talked to Phil about it today. What my thought process was, but
yeah, I gave him the green light on this side.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Now, Jose, we're going to play a game, a word association game. I'm going to give you a name. You are going to give me the first thing that pops into your head when I say the name, okay? Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. Big test. He don't win the big game. What is he, 4-24 against winning teams or some shit like that? But he did look good in the first preseason game. I ain't going to lie.
Brian Urlacher.
Wow, where the fuck do I even start? Why you gonna throw that shit at me, man?
One word, just what comes to your head?
Extraordinary. I mean, like...
There it is. That's the word.
It's not even that. It's like I saw him from his rookie season when he first came in against the fucking New York Giants and beat the New York Giants in front of my brother and all his friends in that game. I remember that game to this day. So now, you know what I'm saying? Like, you actually get to see not only one of your favorite players, because a lot of us have our favorite player as Walter Payton, and a lot of us, let's be real, a lot of us didn't see him play. But Urlacher, I could speak for 75% of the fan base. We actually saw him from his rookie year to his last year, and we got to witness greatness. That's what I'm saying.
Mark Trestman.
Oh, fuck, I'm drinking. You're gonna make me throw up, me.
Lovie Smith.
Oh, respect.
Allen Robinson.
Ooh, big time signing. Excited. I'm just excited to see what he could do for us.
Kevin White.
Damn, man, I don't want to do him dirty, but I'm done with him. Whatever he could give us is a bonus. That's it. I'll leave it at that.
Bears Barroom.
Oh, top notch, baby. You already know. Come on, man. Stop playing games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah. Nah. A Bears Barroom. They're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof. Even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears Barroom. They're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof. No matter if the Bears win or lose. Yo, first, the smartest man, no tweets, he's ever missing. Impossible, the mission, call out frauds with precision. My Bears 100 proof, these faces #1 adorer. Slaying dumb tweets, cross-eyed like Katora. Never one to back down to call a fraud a lemon. Wazram, no doubt, Miller's asterisk ending. Cheers, Bears fans. The fire Puerto Rican barkeeping for Chicagoland. He's the godfather, the one, the real producer. Always keeping the show together with the voice that will seduce us. Get out of Firefox, the old timer never stops. IPA, drafts, malts, crafts, barkeep takes a shot. No deny. Barflies appreciated worldwide. Canada, Scotland, England, Brazil, Mexico, and Dubai. Dr. Phil is the guy, the one to realize as the barroom needed to show with an endless truth supply. Gone big coat forth the narrative on color, brought the Jaces of get paid for Mitchell. Now I'm the shot enough for the truth. You know your boy's a little guy. These media heads won't give us credits up to the barflies. Flies. Fuck a fraud in his keyboard, Twitter tough guys surround us. Raining truth on the Bears worldwide, barflies astound us. This is the #1 pod, that's the reality of the truth. And if you don't know us by now, Bears 100 proof. A Bears Barroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof. Even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears Barroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof. No matter
Okay. So getting back here, getting a little practice, getting away from all the 10-10-10s and getting guys out here. I thought we had a good day today. They get to get a little bit of a feeling of what it's like during, that would be more of a season practice right there with, so with the offense and defense, you can see there's a little bit of unsureness on where to go in certain drills, but that's all part of this process as we go. So I thought it was a good day for practice, and it was good to have you guys out there.
Cheers, Bears fans! This is Bears 100 Proof. That was head coach Matt Nagy talking to the media early on Tuesday about the practice session the Chicago Bears had getting ready for the all-important preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. My name is Aldo Gandia. I pour the drinks here, but don't you worry, the stars of our nightclub act are here. They are, of course, Shaheen, the smartest man in the barroom, Marsall, and draft Dr. Philotoshin. Also seated over there in the best booth of the house is Bears Girl. She's scouring the internet looking for breaking stories and funny tweets. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to have Dr. David Chao, the medical doctor who was an NFL head team doctor for 17 years. He's a practicing orthopedic surgeon, so he's going to give us the lowdown on these injuries that are impacting the Chicago Bears. Later in the show, we'll have Russell Baxter from Pro Football Guru. Russell is here to talk a little NFL football and to buy Shane Marsall a drink. And, of course, we've got Trey busy with his steak and whiskey segment. He'll be on to close the show and do some shout-outs with us. And, of course, we'll have Shane's Tweets of the Week. And I want to start the show by talking to Phil about his trip out in Connecticut with MOTTS, the Monsters of the Tri-State. We heard Jose Scar at the top of the show. Phil, tell our audience about your trip out there, and then I will tell them that sprinkled throughout the show we'll have some of these bits that you did with members of MOTTS.
Well, you know, Aldo, I don't blow no smoke. I got to tell you, I headed up to Jersey with my wife, Steph. Oh, go ahead.
Well, first of all, it's in New Jersey, boss, not Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut. In typical Aldo fashion, you knew direction wasn't well. So yeah, Shane imitated me. Me and Steph drove up to Jersey, crossed the GW Bridge. The traffic was crazy. The rain was coming down. We're praying it'll stop. Steph had no umbrella, so that became a hot topic the last 3.5 miles. So, no, but getting there and in Jersey, and shout out to Bart and his wife for opening their doors and showing so much hospitality to all of the people there, but especially me and my wife. And then, guys, you're going into an environment you don't know. I don't know anybody. I know people from Twitter, like as many people, some people know or some people don't know, but I've never met Aldo or Shane in person. And Shane I've known for over 20 years now. So we're going to have to capture that on video someday. Really? Because it's like...
be a tearful union.
Well, I'm going to see Aldo before I see Shane, but I don't know when we're going to break that news. Maybe it breaks in tonight. I don't know. But I will say this, Aldo. The hospitality, the camaraderie, the passion, the just overwhelming sense of welcoming that you could possibly get. And then you see familiar faces through pictures come to life. Like Jose's voice in the open. I don't know how I pictured his voice, but I was pretty fucking damn close to believing it. This is exactly who I thought he was. Real recognizes real. And we talk about that. Jose actually said that about Bears Bar and myself, because I don't have anywhere to hide, and to feel the love for Bears Barroom by these people that, let's face it, guys, the MOTTS were coming from all over the East Coast, Maryland, Georgia, Virginia, upstate New York was repping, New Hampshire. They were bringing funky brownies from New Hampshire and shit. So the love and passion that a Bears fan has is amazing. And in this place, to travel that distance to watch a preseason game together, to me, was the story in and above itself. And then the food and the knowledge and the knowing of Shane the Money Man Marsaw fighting. No, it's Shane the Mailman Marsaw. It was, and then you had guys requesting parody songs. And why have we heard this song? And to know they know everything, Blowing Smoke, Real Quick. There was one guy wanted me to say real quick on his Instagram. It was just a showcase of what we're doing here. This isn't a fucking blog. Last I checked, blogs don't fucking have radio shows and guests around the world and Hall of Famers coming on. It's just ridiculous to think that we started this idea and I said, fuck, it's got to be uncorporate. It's got to be truthful. It's got to be honest. And you have to be able to balance that. If the truth is the truth, you don't just bring some asshole on who's going to be contrarian to it. And Aldo believed in me. And I fucking love that guy for it. That's why I'm so loyal. And so loyal to this. And to feel that back, to feel it back from these awesome people, MOTTS. Now, all of them haven't heard of the show. Like, oh my God. But I would say 75% did and knew it. And that's me keeping it 100. But goddamn, everybody when they left couldn't wait to subscribe and go on Twitter or follow it on Facebook because of the energy there in the family. And it felt like this. So I know that's a lot, but it really deserved the recognition because, let's face it, in Europe they have these soccer teams, and that's like they're chopping off fucking heads of refs. Like they're that crazy over there. But here, you know, it's different. But to see this kind of love for the Chicago Bears, the same love that I know in you guys, that you have, so that uniformity crossed in my bloodstream. It was like when we walked in, Steph whispered to me, she's like, "This is your heaven." I go, yeah, this is my place, because everybody was dolled up in navy blue and orange and rooting for the same team. It was just a great time, and they were asking for all of you and knowing your stuff, and cheers Bears fans, and my favorite parody song is this. It's just, it's worthwhile to know that the appreciation falls way further than the hateration that you saw, especially the other day. And it's funny to me because I've never.
How come Shane didn't make it down there?
I know. I was begging him. So much going on.
Is Adam Rank on the show tonight? Because I'm broadcasting from the same place, folks.
Sitting on the shitter.
Some snakes in the Marshall
Actually,
household?
no. I'm in my new house finally, and I have not dropped a snake in this one yet. So
snakes and whiskey. Aldo's mama's got some advice today.
What about you, Bears Girl? You drop any snakes?
No, I've been too busy sewing sweatshirts, T-shirts, and hats for our new swag shop.
Look at you. Oh.
He's a fucking...
Oh, Mom.
Wow. Thanks, Mama Gundia.
She said he's.
I thought I heard she's.
She, maybe. I don't know.
I thought you dropped that.
That's what I thought he did, too.
I thought you created that. You sneaky little bastard, you.
Wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise
Come
me.
meet me at Portillo's and let's get it on.
Yes.
Let's get it on.
We need a bunch.
Welcome, Russell Baxter. Let's get it on.
So, our first guest tonight is going to be Dr. Chao. When can we expect? How much time do we have, Bears Girl?
I'm just texting with Dr. Chao right now. He is still in a meeting, and I will be checking back in with him in about 15 minutes. So Carry on, folks. Carry on.
What I'd like to start with is we have not talked about the preseason game in Denver, and I'd like to get your impressions of that game. What was the big takeaway for you, Shane, in that game, Bears at Broncos?
Well, number one, first off, Phil and I talked a little bit earlier today, and we're talking about Phil was doing his thing at MOTTS, and I was in the middle of moving stuff into my new house, and so I couldn't really pay complete attention to it the way that I wanted to. But the biggest thing that stuck out with me, and Phil said the same thing, was where was James Daniels? Why are we into this game? And I believe it was Phil, third quarter? When he finally hit the field. And I have an issue with that. I realize you want these to gel, these guys on the line to gel, but Phil alluded to it talking about Eric Kush. Eric Kush is a journeyman backup offensive lineman. That's what he is. You invested of the 35th pick in James Daniels. The guy needs to get out there and get live reps. That's, I don't know, we questioned the reps with Kevin White. They did put him out there more this weekend. I did like to see that. I don't understand why Jordan Howard got so much run, so much burn in that game when we know exactly who and what he is. But it was Nagy's, division of playtime with certain individuals. I haven't quite figured out what his thought process is in some of them. And the one big part that stuck out to me, and our friend of the show, Mike North, brought it up, was you play Mitch, 2 quarters, almost 2 complete quarters, and then you give Chase Daniel the 2-minute drive. For what? He's heading into year 10. Why do I need to see Chase Daniel run a 2-minute drill? I don't. I want to see Mitch Trubisky run it in this new offense. Put the guys out there that are going to be playing together, that are the future of this franchise, and take advantage of those in-game live reps. So those were the biggest things that stuck out with me. Was I think Nagy's still stuck in that period of where he's, I don't know. I like what I see, but in terms of how he's going about dividing up the play time, I have some questions there.
I'm with Shane, Aldo. Obviously, he told you we talked a little bit. I didn't understand the James Daniels highlight that with a Canadian highlighter. I completely, emphatically, if you didn't get to listen to the interview with my Uncle Sam Ritigliano yesterday, go check that out, because he was talking about live reps and repetition and how are these guys going to be ready compared to what they used to do. To Shane's point, you have a perfect opportunity to give a whole pressure situation on a young quarterback. Put him in hot water, right, Aldo?
Mm-hmm.
Put him in hot water. Let's see how he is transitioning in this offense that we've been installing since April. This is what you work all those days for, to get an opportunity to prepare yourself for the fucking season against Green Bay. So the kid makes a mistake. At worst, David Hall is going to call him a bust. But you know, in real life, that now you take that and teach from it and learn from the mistake, what he did. So when it really matters in the regular season, in a big game, he would have those snaps, that ability to learn your muscle memory of feeling that pressure, your heart racing in the huddle, whatever it is to process in our brain, he would have that history because you continue to do it in the NFL. And I think I went really deep into it because it's a missed opportunity again, this coaching staff. And this is just a showcase to you, to Mike North. I'll say it to you. A bear ball washer would be fine. Oh, my. Keep him safe. Bubble wrap his ass. We've seen enough. We'll go on to next week. That's what a fucking meatballer does. I wanted to see him out there again. I wanted him out there. Daniels should be out there. White should be playing the whole fucking game. I got to tell you this quick story at the MOTTS picnic. It was epic. So Kevin White catches that ball in the fucking, bubble screen. He cuts it up the field and gets a first down, right? He got hit and he gets knocked out of bounds hard. And everyone was like, wait a second. He's getting up? They were in shock that he was getting up. They thought he was getting. I swear, the whole backyard now is full with these New Yorkers with the accents and the energy and it was hilarious. So everyone's like standing ovation that he got up and he actually made a play. He fucking made a play. I wish I was recording the audio. So the very next play, Aldo, the camera went to a replay of the play. So they come out and now they're out of the huddle already. So they're already lining up for the next play. Fucking Daniels throws deep down the right sideline. Over the shoulder catch. Kevin White. Holy shit, he's growing. Yes. I go, it's not Kevin White. It's Marlon Brown. The whole place went like, oh my fuck! I fucking hate Kevin White. I couldn't make it up if I tried. That is the true story. Jose could tell you. Everybody was fooled that was Kevin White. Even Shane, I think, was fooled at home.
I did. I tweeted that out. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, oh shit, that's Marlon Brown. I did the same damn thing, man.
Epic preseason moment, Aldo.
Man, I got to tell you that I've been listening to your MOTTS interviews throughout the day, cutting these together, putting a little music, and man, you got some gold down there, man. The people you were hanging out with some really cool people. I want to play one of the cuts. You had people playing word association, so you would, give them a name and. Scar didn't get the concept right away.
I was like, Scar, one word. He's like, I fucking make the rules. That's what Scar is. I must have got 12 hugs from Scar throughout the periodic hugs, and I appreciate it. Like, yeah, motherfucker. Dr. Phil's in the motherfucking house.
I love it.
He come back again. Fucking Bears barroom, motherfuckers. Then he comes back again, and last one, Aldo, he's like,
to me, it seemed like I was at a family picnic, with my family of New York Ricans and stuff. That's what it felt like for me. I'm going to play one of the interviews that you did with a guy named Mark. Here it comes.
It's a crazy place over here. We got a lot of Bear fans in the house. It's very loud, but I'm able to sit down with superfan Mark here. Mark, you want to play a game real quick? We're going to play a game of word association. So I'm going to say a word, any kind of word, name. You tell me the first thing that pops into your head when I say this word. Lovey Smith.
My favorite coach, a player's coach.
One word.
Best.
There you go. Walter Payton.
Sweetness.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Dangerous.
Nice. Look at you. Look at you, Mark. Last one, I'm going to challenge you here, Mark. Aaron Rodgers.
Holy cheese.
Mark, you were excellent. Thank you for coming on Bears Barroom Radio. Are you a big fan of Bears Barroom Network?
Absolutely.
Great stuff. We got a few more of those that we'll play throughout the show. Let's while we're waiting for Dr. Chao, we'll talk a little bit more about the Chicago Bears. Guys, I got to tell you about that game, and I had sort of a family thing that I was attending on Saturday night, so I didn't see the game.
Congratulations,
thank you,
Bear, Papa Bear.
Yeah, thank you. I'm marrying. My daughter's marrying into an Italian family, so my world now has changed dramatically.
Is that why you're inviting me over?
Absolutely. I need
Come over here.
I need you to check them out and make sure they're authentic Italians. But what I saw of the game, boy, I was disappointed with Tariq Cohen. It just seemed like he did not have the type of game that I expected. There were mistakes. There were drop passes. There was running inside when you should have run outside. It just a little bit disappointing. I wanted to get your thoughts. Shane, what'd you think?
When Cohen took that screen pass, oh God, I'm like, oh, here he goes. He's gonna, pot. This is gonna be a big one. And I'm like, what the? He didn't even get the fucking first down. And then they ended up calling it a first down on the field. I'm like, he was short.
Oh yeah,
I knew he was short, but as I tweeted that out, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, Tariq. I mean, of all people, if it's Mike Burton out there, Phil's boy, I can see. You know what I mean? But he pops that outside. He's got a chance to still be running.
Yeah.
And then
error. Oh.
The next play that he was involved in was his lazy route, causing Mitch to throw the INT that Mike North wanted to blame on our quarterback, and that was not Mitch. That was not Mitch Trubisky's fault. You could see. I mean, we all saw the reaction that ensued after that, and Mitch had every right to be pissed off at Tariq Cohen. He's got a Phil. You can probably explain it better than I can in football terms, but you can't get sloppy there. I mean, it's going to be a spot throw, and he's got to burst through that defender to the ball.
Yeah, one tweeter this week compared it to Johnny Knox, who would always kind of round out his route or become lazy. And I thought
quit.
That was or quit, yeah. And that kind of situation, Shane's wanting a snake route is what we called it. Other people call it something else, is where you are bending outside with your body to present like you're going to make a speed cut to the out, which would force the defender to jump or lean or change their body control to give you the opportunity to 90-degree fast, not thinking about it, right in front of whoever's in front of you. You can't miss that lane because it's constantly preached by the coach, folks. That's why Mitch was so upset, because he's doing what he's coached to do and the guy's not in the right place. Talked about it with Kevin White, Shane. You could be as talented as you want. You don't know the fucking plays in this offense, you're not going to be able to play. I don't care how talented you are. So this situation, both of those plays, guys, at the barbecue, I was fucking losing my mind. Look at him. I saw it right away, tweeted it right out from my fucking wet lawn chair. So I was like, this fucking guy missed that was the easiest read behind Kyle Long's right ass cheek. It's like
terrible.
You're just gone. You're racing the safety. And that, it was awful. He had a bad night. And those criticizing Mitch, Shane, you gotta. We talked about it last
foolish.
Week, but go ahead. It's just dumb.
Oh, and I think it was I believe it was Chris Armstrong that said it wasn't leadership. Well, no, that's exactly what it is. It's exactly leadership, especially from your second-year quarterback. That's what you want. He's not doing it to disparage Tariq Cohen. Mitch Trubisky did that. You think Tariq Cohen's going to remember that?
You think he's ever going to do it again?
You think he's going to get lazy on that again? No, he's not, because Mitch is going to be the guy that's going to get Tariq Cohen noticed. You know, he's going to be delivering him the ball, and that is my one fear, guys, with this Chicago Bears team is they're starting to accumulate talent in Mitch Trubisky. You know, a guy like Eddie Jackson, a guy like Tariq Cohen. All of these guys are getting a lot of there's some hype around them, and you hear the dreaded sophomore slump. You know, we haven't seen too much of Tariq Cohen this offseason, but there's no reason if he's out there that he's not going 100% when he's supposed to. And is he buying into the hype? Is he coasting a little bit? Yes, I realize these guys want to get to the regular season. They start collecting the big paychecks then. But how many times have we heard every rep counts? It's the little things. Do the little things, and it's going to pay off for you in the end. And I was pissed at Cohen. I mean, that's unacceptable. I don't care if he's in year 2 or not. You make the wrong read, you make the wrong cut on that screen pass. You want him to bounce back. His next play that he's involved in was the interception, and it's unacceptable. And I hope Nagy ripped into him. I really do. I hope Helfrich got on him too, because these young guys need to be, they need to be made known that's not acceptable.
We interrupt this programming to bring you breaking news. Bears Ballroom's 100 proof breaking news.
I was really hoping this player would not be making this kind of news this quickly, but Patrick Finley is reporting that Bears coach Matt Nagy told reporters at Hallis Hall earlier today that Roquan Smith felt some tightness in his left hamstring today during practice. The team wants to be, quote, super cautious with him. And Adam Hogue is reporting that Smith says he was working out with Georgia's strength and conditioning staff while he was away from the Bears during that 29-day holdout.
Wasn't working hard enough, perhaps, because, we talked about this during the holdout, that we've seen this happen so many times with people who hold out for weeks, and it's just, it was predictable that this was going to happen. And if this thing is serious, then you can kiss away the idea that Roquan is going to be starting or be an instrumental player week 1. I heard the Nagy press conference, and he talked about the team as being ultra cautious with it, which makes sense. But here's a guy who does not have the reps. He's not had the calls. He may not know where to line up himself, much less tell other players on the football field where to line up, because he's not out there on the practice field executing what he's learned off of tape and the playbook. So it's concerning. It's disappointing. Hopefully it's not so serious. But, between hearing that news and watching Tariq's play, I'm in a little of a sour mood. We got to get this shit corrected.
It's typical, and that's the reality of football. I mean, we talk about getting calloused up, and Sam talked about two-a-days last night. And these guys back then having less injuries, more contact, more practice, because their bodies got used to the beating. I mean, there were times in playing football where a Friday night game, that Saturday morning, you would wake up and go to breakfast and you're just sore as hell, and you're all black and blue all over your body, like you had a freaking abusive father and you were a redhead. It is really difficult, and to be able to come around and see this kid out of practice, I mean, it's like Aaron Lynch. Where the fuck is he? He's like a fucking extra in a movie walking around the sideline. That's what his job. I don't know what's going on with the injuries. You got Floyd, the Georgia boys are out. One's a hamstring. One's always hurt. I mean, it's frustrating.
Well, you spoke about Lynch. Nagy was asked about Aaron Lynch, and this is what he said.
Where's Lynch at? He was out here. Yeah. No, he's getting close. Again, it's kind of a slow process for him. He understands that. We want to get him back as soon as we can, and he knows that. And so, when you start dealing with these type of soft tissue injuries, it's just there's that fine line of if you push it too fast, and everybody's different. If you push it too fast, now all of a sudden they redo it, and now you just lost another 6 weeks. So, that's kind of where we're at there.
Yeah, we need to talk to Dr. Chao about that, about the process for treating soft tissue injuries. We of course know that term so well because of Alshon Jeffrey seemingly having a soft tissue injury every fucking week during that one season before he left. Aaron Lynch, I'm starting to worry about this guy. And Nagy keeps saying he's not worried. Well, how can you not be worried? You haven't seen him rush the quarterback in a preseason game, much less in practice, or the other way around. This is ridiculous.
Sitting on the sideline watching. You should be. I'm concerned. I'm concerned with the pass rush because now you could say what you want. There was two things I really wanted to make sure we talked about, and one will be this because it fits perfectly. It's the pass rush situation. It's the same old with Leonard Floyd being banged up, and we'll find out how long and what's going to happen. But then that's going to be the umbrella, the excuse while he's playing with an injury. No, it's time for Leonard to be an NFL football player. Guy got his finger blown off at a fucking firework sound effect drop there. And he fucking still is in the NFL playing hard and getting to the passer. I don't want to hear this bullshit Leonard Floyd. You've taken a step, you take 4 back. Kevin White, he's going to give him he's 16 back. It's like, take the fucking step or get the fuck out. That's the problem here. And there's no answers. Lynch, he's getting close. How patient could you be? It's been fucking how many days? The guy, it's disgusting. Something has to be done and addressed outside this team right now in regards to that position. You need to get involved with this trade. I'm thinking about it tonight, and I just want to ask you both. What's our biggest need? Pass rusher. Everyone agrees, right? What do you think we're going to draft next year in the first round? Pass rusher. Mm-hmm. Yep, you said it right. Say it with me.
Pass rusher.
Exactly. So where are the Bears going to be picking, do you believe, next year? Like the odds, where would you put them, Aldo?
Well, I am starting to believe that they may have a top 15 pick.
Okay, so we'll give it 15 or 12.
Good.
Are you getting an elite pass rusher there?
No.
Exactly. So why not say, listen, we are seeing the future by playing the cards right, because a lot of this is luck. We already know what this kid Mac brings to the table because we're fucking dying and desperate to get it. So let's offer 2 first-round picks and get what we need because we know that it's elite. Now, could you imagine what this does for your defense, this one move, as well as this guy that's always injured, what it does for him?
Mm-hmm. Got a cheap quarterback, too. Don't forget that.
Exactly, Shane. That was going to be my final point. You have $26 million in cap space. You got a quarterback on a rookie deal. Now's the time to set the chessboard correctly. You need your king. You need your queen, rather. I'll pass rusher second. The king is the quarterback. So you need your queen to get a pass rusher here that's not fucking always sitting on the sideline or hurt. Now, again, I'm not going to take any shots at Leonard Floyd. I'm seeing signs. But like I said, can't make the club in the tub. Can't do it. Can't help your football team if you're sitting there like Aaron Lynch fucking being a celebrity guest on the Pineapple Express. Who the hell knows what that guy's doing? He's just nothing. I mean, he's got a fucking porn mustache. He said, I'm pissed off at the guy who hasn't put on a uniform yet. Jesus. So I know Danny Shimon loved Edibale, but Edibale's going against the same guys he's critiquing Ryan Nall for breaking tackles and running 69 yards and showing speed. So that kind of stuff, right now, we don't know what we have at the pass rusher. And then the other one thing, back to the other guy, the quarterback, the king, Aldo. Him getting fired up as a teammate like you'd see a Tom Brady, who, to me, there is no argument who is the best to ever do it, and that's him. Nobody worth their grain of tape study, and he's in the system and all that. The guy processes. He does it. He is what he is. You can like him, hate him, or love him. I don't know. I don't care. But I know what I know, and he is on his fucking teammates' ass because the ultimate goal is to benefit them. Anybody taking it personal need to fucking rewrite their deep thoughts this week, Chris. Because I'll tell you fucking right now, it doesn't take me 5 seconds to recognize Mitch is a goddamn leader in that shit. And he's fucking to the point, Shane. There's no way Tariq is going to have a fucking bottle rocket in his ass this week. You are going to see a different Tariq. Put a Mike North fucking line on that for me. This kid is going to have 3 wow fucking plays. Mark it in your phone.
We interrupt this programming to bring you breaking news. Bears Ballroom's 100 proof breaking news.
I am breaking into this show to tell people that 10 minutes ago, Phil said, I want to ask you guys something.
I'm sorry. I was asking you. You're supposed to answer pass rusher.
It's all very entertaining and informative, but I was thinking back, wait a minute, was he going to ask us a question? Oh, yeah, that was 10 minutes ago.
My last point, and I'm going to ask you this question, Aldo.
One more thing.
This is it. Aldo, here's your question.
No, ask Shane, because I'm beginning to
Shane,
think he's
here's your
again.
question then. Jay Cutler would do something on the sideline. People didn't like it. So you got Jay Cutler, choice A. Choice B, you have Mitch Trubisky getting fired up with the situation and throwing a pick and the whole thing with Tariq Cohen. Which one are you choosing? A, don't care. Give me a fucking sig. B, fiery, upset, yelling at his team.
Kissing titties. I'm taking D.
Exactly.
I was hoping that Dr. Chao would have broken before Shane had to answer that question.
What is the medical terminology for kissing titties? Can we ask him?
I
think we should ask him.
Oh, I thought we were going to ask Bears Girl. Do we know that? Is there a Canadian medical term for that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just what it sounds like, fellas.
Can you look up in the Urban Dictionary what kissing titty is?
Well, it's motorboating, but I mean, other than that.
Motorboating.
That's a North American term. I think even in Mexico they're familiar with that.
Why do you think we have different terms just because we are north of the border? We speak the same fucking language.
Every country has their fucking heritages.
Yeah,
their sayings, their accents,
their own
eh?
slang.
Oh boy.
All right, we are on hold here. Dr. Chao will be with us in...
Let's get literal. Russell Baxter's literal.
Let me hear.
Oh my God.
I definitely have to record that for Shane. Then have Shane and him
Shane's
battle
gonna play that.
And I'll put the audio of Shane fighting him in it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, while we're waiting, I do want to play another soundbite from Matt Nagy. He was asked about Robertson Harris. Is that his name? Roy Robertson
Roy
Harris.
Robertson Harris.
RRH.
He's like a fucking pirate.
Man.
Roy Robertson Harris. See?
He is showing a lot of promise. I don't care who he's up against. Just looking at
Aldo.
his quickness off the line. It's what Jonathan Bullard was supposed to be. Yes, sir.
Ask me my 3 favorite players from the preseason game.
Okay. Hey, Phil, who were your 3 favorite players from the preseason game?
Aldo, I gotta tell you, I loved what I see from Roy Robertson Harris.
Oh, man, me too.
That fucking guy is impressive. My second most impressive guy is 5th round rookie Bilal Nichols. I'm getting fucking fired up and sensual looking at him play the defensive line position, because to be a rookie and to be powerful and not know how strong you are and how good you could be yet is scary. To match him up with Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman, and if this kid starts to see the light of day of his talent, I'm fucking excited about Nichols. And then my last...
Hey, Phil, tell me about E.A. Booneway. Go ahead.
How did you know I was going there? Fuck. This guy's a mind reader. It's like we talked or something. But Shane and I did talk, and I was like, Shane, holy shit, Iggy Abunaway. This motherfucker, the tight end, Aldo, we talk about getting separation, even based on your alignment. So Abunaway lines up almost off. He should be maybe a half or a full step over, and he gave the tight end the advantage, who leaks out and gets separation from him. Abunaway closes like he's a fucking defensive back coming across his face and not batting the ball down. Then another play, he's just instinctively going to the spot. Like, he gets it. And he's so fucking fast. Like, I haven't seen that kind of fucking speed from a linebacker. I had to go back, and then Kwiatkowski showed you some speed. This kid flashed like lightning versus Kwiatkowski's speed. And then there's another play. The tight end, they play the naked boot with the tight end blocking down, releasing late, and he fucking reads it perfectly. The tight end catches the ball. He runs him down like it's nothing. And again, those 3 guys, like, I know the defenses in preseason are going to have easier growth because of the continuity with the system. But these are young players like Nichols and Iabunaway. So, Shane, we talked about how impressed were you with our boy Iggy?
Well, I was driving back from Outer Banks when they made that pick, and I think you texted me and said, "Who do we just take?" And I'm like, I don't even know how to read his name. I don't know anything. So of course, after you hit these guys, somebody like that. I know Danny Shimon said that he knew some on him and liked some of his traits, but when I started to dive into him, you really could see what Pace loved. And you talk about that explosion, Phil, and I said, I think about him and Roquan Smith playing together in tandem. You know, we've heard, you know, with Vic, is he going to put 3 inside linebackers on the field at the same time in some packages? And I think of you can even put Kwiatkowski, Smith, and Iggy out there, or Trevathan Smith and Iggy, and it's the ground that these guys are going to cover. I don't know if fans really realize how fast. I mean, it's not just these guys are elite level fast, and the Bears have 2 of them on the inside of their defense on the second level. And this kid, he's making that huge jump from Western Kentucky, and when he starts to figure things out, and to me, it looks like he's already on that express lane to figuring that out. Phil, you could notice in the game the other night after you were talking about the tight end, you could just feel his confidence level just through the TV. You could feel it going up. And I said, yeah, he really did. And I'm really excited about the game this Saturday against Kansas City, because I see a guy like Iggy, and he's just sitting there staring at the wall in his room right now, waiting for Saturday, waiting to run onto Soldier Field. And it sounds like, if they're going to sit Roquan and be ultra cautious again, that's going to give him even more of an opportunity to steal reps. And a guy like that is going to run with it. Absolutely.
Hey, guys, while we're waiting for Dr. Chao, he's going to be with us quickly. I want to play another one of Phil's word association bits with Sherry over at MOTTS. Here it is.
Cherie from D.C. Mitch Trubisky.
Dynamic.
Brian Urlacher.
Legend.
Walter Payton.
Sweetness.
Oh, you hit it. You hit that one right out of the park. Aaron Rodgers.
Trash.
Packer fans.
They suck.
Matt Stafford.
Definitely trash. I mean, a lot of things I can say about Stafford. He is definitely overrated, and he don't deserve the big payday he just got.
I hear she's breaking this down. She knows the Bears. Lovie Smith.
He was the best. He was one of the best. I hated that we let him go. I'm sorry. I hate that we let him go.
That's been kind of the story here tonight at MOTTS. They all miss Lovie Smith. Bears Barroom Radio.
The best podcast there is. I know I listen to the podcast, so that's the best that I've heard.
This girl is like warm in my heart.
Hello.
Dr. Chao?
Yes.
Welcome to Bears Barroom 100 Proof. Thank you for making time for us tonight. I'm Bears Girl. We had the pleasure of speaking earlier today to get this interview lined up. And let me let you know who you are talking to tonight. Behind the control boards is our super producer, also known as Aldo Gandia. And the 2 stars of this show are Draft Dr. Philatoshin and Smartest Man Shane Marsaw. For those listening in and are not familiar with Dr. David Chao, he is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine specialist who spent 17 years as the head team physician for the San Diego Chargers. He is Sirius XM sports medical analyst, appears regularly on the NFL channel, has his own podcast, and has consulted with many, many, many professional sports teams and associations. And it is a privilege to have you with us tonight. I'm going to turn it over to the 2 gentlemen who want to talk Bears and injuries with you. Fellas, over to you.
Thanks very much for having me, and sounds like you guys are already having fun, so I might be a couple of rounds deep already, huh? Sorry for jumping on here.
That's right.
Yeah, and we're probably 3 deep.
Hey, Doctor, before I turn it over to Shane and Draft Dr. Phil, they're the football experts and want to get into all the minutia. I want to ask you, I've been having an issue going to the bathroom, and
oh my God, Aldo.
Well, you know what? I'm going to turn it over to them while I run to the washroom right now. So go ahead, Shane. Go ahead and ask your question.
The issue as in too much bathroom or too little?
Well,
too
both.
Much.
Urinating too much, and then the other thing doing too little.
As opposed to diarrhea of the mouth.
That's draft Dr. Phil. Okay, go ahead, gentlemen.
Hey, Doc, thanks for giving us the time tonight. I want to jump right into it. We heard, the big thing in Chicago is everybody's talking about the lack of pass rush, and wouldn't you know it, here we are with Leonard Floyd going down with the injury. I saw your article on that today, and I've had a lot of Bears fans DMing me and wanting to chime in on this, and just maybe if you could just kind of retouch on that again, kind of what Bears fans can expect from Floyd over the next few weeks, and do you fully expect him to be able to participate in Week 1 versus Green Bay?
Well, as you probably saw, and I tweeted about it, a lot of Bears fans were asking me, "Oh, what do you think? He's going to have surgery and he's going to play in 3 weeks?" I mean, this is the NFL. It happens all the time. Guys are almost uniformly very tough. I don't doubt for 1 second that Leonard Floyd will play in the Week 1 game. Any indications to the contrary are the team/head coach perhaps giving the player a little bit of wiggle room in case something doesn't go smoothly, and giving them the opportunity to make a decision to play. But I don't know Leonard very well, but I don't see how he's not going to play with, even though it's, quote, 2 fractures in his hand/finger. Routinely in my time in the NFL, a guy would break his hand or finger and we'd do surgery on it, and the vast majority of the time they play next week, sometimes in a club. He's got 3 weeks. I don't think he's going to need a club. I think he'll have some sort of limited cast or splint. I think it'll be fairly limited, and I think he'll be pretty effective. Obviously, you don't pass rush with your index and middle finger, and people worry about tackling and grasping. I'm not that worried about it because I think the Bears medical staff and athletic trainers there's some good guys there. There's one guy on the Bears staff, Will Rogers, who's very good, who is a friend of mine who I used to work with with the San Diego Chargers. They'll get on something very appropriate for him, and he'll be able to play effectively, and he's going to be able to make tackles and even grasp. And since we're barroom here, I mean, if you pick up the glass or the beer bottle in front of you, try and squeeze as hard as you can to crush it in your hands, and tell me where the power grip comes from. Is it the index and middle finger, or is it the ring and fourth finger? You can try it with a golf club or a bat or your steering wheel. Power grip is with your fourth and fifth fingers, and that's unaffected. So he's still going to be able to tackle someone by the jersey, grasp. I think he's going to be pretty effective. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Leonard Floyd will be 100% healed and have 0 limitations. I'm just saying he's going to suit up for the game, and he should be able to play effectively.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Chao. How should I refer to you? Because I'm going to get confused if they're talking to me or Dr. Chao. I do have a PhD in analyzing football, Doc. So me and you can speak on the level these guys can't. So, no, I'm joking. Let me ask you this, because you've done this a long time, and that says a lot about you and your ability to do it in a league where basically the money flows through the talent and keeping that talent on the football field. If Leonard Floyd does not play in that first game, what does that say to you? I know you're not that, you don't have to be that edgy, but you've been around this game. There's been players that play it soft, for lack of a better term. And when you see that, how do the coaches handle that with you and that football player? Does it become a struggle? Because Leonard's been banged up a lot here. In fact, his body type was the thing that I cautioned about him getting drafted so high. And now he's injured again. It just raises a flag, and you've been around this. What would it say to you in that regard?
Well, I'll try not to get mad at you for what I think you just did, which is you called me old. I mean, you paused a long time. He did this for a long, long time.
Oh, boy.
I like to think I'm not that old, but in any case, experience may be better. But, look, it's all about relationships. It's a relationship business. It's a relationship between the team doctor and the players, and you develop that relationship before a player is hurt. You develop it when they're healthy. You develop it throughout the year and throughout the seasons, so that when there is a time of difficulty, that you can draw on that teamwork and friendship. The same with the coaches, assistant coaches, position coaches, coordinators, and head coaches. You draw on that with the player and to gain trust, including management. You're around these players all the time. You're at meals with them. You're traveling on the same charter with them. I mean, everyone knows each other, and that trust is really important. And you don't gain that trust after a player's injured. You build that trust before they're injured. And, as far as Leonard, Floyd, and his body type, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not a big fan of all this injury-prone stuff. I mean, I'm not sure how it happened, but my guess is he probably was got his fingers tangled up in someone's pads or jerseys or making a tackle, and that's how he broke it. And, even at combines, even though we check guys out head to toe, I don't know that we've ever measured finger girth in terms of who might break their hand. So I don't know that means he's soft in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of attention on this, obviously, because he's a star player and he's one of the main guys that are going to pressure the quarterback. But I just don't see this as that big of a deal in the big picture. In terms of there's still a few weeks to go in the preseason, and he should be okay.
Hey, Doc, we saw Matt Nagy come out today and say that Roquan Smith couldn't participate much in practice today because he was experiencing some tightness in his hamstring. And I'm sure just as well of all of us here, documented his 29-day holdout from training camp. In your experience, and I know all of us are invested in it here too, with these guys that hold out, did you notice a much of a trend with guys that hold out and coming back with these little nagging hamstring injuries or tweaking an ankle? It just seems like these guys that do that in early injury always seems to crop up within the first week or two of camp, and now we're experiencing that here with Roquan. Is that something that you think that there's any validity to that with them? He was training back at Georgia, and he's not obviously working with the Bears guys, but do you think that there's any validity to that, these guys that are holding out and these injuries that seem to crop up with most of them?
Fortunately, there aren't enough players that have held out over time to do a scientific numbers study and to make it meaningful. But anecdotally, yes, that is a worry. There are plenty instances of that. Even on the Chargers, a little bit after my time, if you remember, Joey Bosa had a holdout and quickly had a muscle injury when he reported to camp. And one of the reasons why isn't that Roquan Smith is not working out at Georgia or not doing the right thing. It's very hard to duplicate team football activities. And thus people say cancel preseason games, don't do it. But that just would push a lot of the injuries to the regular season. There are such things as acclimation injuries, and often hamstring injuries or issues are a result of that. The question is, what does he really have? I don't know Coach Nagy well enough. I haven't seen his pattern yet. He's a new head coach in terms of what he says. I think your previous head coach, if you heard hamstring tightness, you probably would think that it really was a tear of some sort, right? Because there were a lot of
or a leg amputation.
Well, we can get to my friend Coach Fox in a little bit. I mean, we all know there's a term called coach speak, right? And what I don't know is how much coach speak and what type of coach speak Coach Nagy participates in. Every coach does it throughout the league. And, is it truly precautionary little hamstring tightness, or was there a hamstring strain? Who knows? But yes, these injuries do happen. I call them acclimation injuries in terms of what happens. And despite the best of what happens, they sometimes happen. especially you get a guy who's held out for a little bit, who's now really eager to participate and gets in and does tweaks the hamstring a little bit. So hopefully it's minor and you'll get through it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, so earlier today when we initially spoke, we talked about Adam Shaheen, and reports now out of Bears camp is that he has a sprained foot in addition to the sprained ankle he suffered in that game versus the Broncos, and the Bears are contemplating a second opinion type deal to determine his status. And I'm also seeing on Twitter reports saying he is now out indefinitely. Your thoughts on that?
Well, when it happened, as some of you know, I try to look at video to try and give a first impression and analysis. I'm not diagnosing. Diagnosing would imply I've examined the player, I'm treating the player, or I've looked at an MRI. But just off of video, even though it looked horrible, most of you probably have seen it, I tweeted in real time basically that this is going to look way worse than it was. I think the Twitter world was saying it was broken, the season was done, and the way that it turned. It looked like a significant low lateral ankle sprain. Now, when that happens, sometimes there are associated injuries that are going to happen, but it's that go on in the foot. But it's not going to be a dreaded Lisfranc injury. I really doubt it's going to be surgical. And just because you're hearing about a second opinion doesn't really mean it's necessarily bad. Second opinions happen in the NFL all the time. Every agent in the NFL, as part of his training, is told, always get a second opinion no matter what, whether it's good news or bad news. So I wouldn't make too much of that. I think that I get that Bears fans are very rabid and they want to know about everyone and everything. And I get the impression from afar that you guys are still living in the post-John Fox era where you don't really trust what the team is putting out.
Well, go ahead and tell us a little bit about John Fox and his proclivities for secrecy and any other juicy gossip you might have for us.
Well, I mean, for full disclosure, I like Coach Fox, and that's probably going to put me in bad stead with all of you. I mean, but as a man, I know him. He's actually from San Diego. He has a rugby background like mine. I do a lot of rugby stuff, and I do know Coach Fox. I respect him. I think he's a good guy. I think that from the outside, the reactions that Coach Fox engendered are a little bit unfair. Name one coach in the NFL who doesn't give coach speak. You name him across the league. I mean, Coach Belichick is the most famous for it, right? He doesn't even talk about it at all. Coach Harbaugh does some coach speak. The coaches I worked with did coach speak. You got to understand, if you remember in my time with the Chargers, Phillip Rivers tore his ACL, had a knee scope after the divisional game when we beat Indy in the final game at the RCA Dome. And as we went into play the Patriots, where we lost in the AFC Championship game, it wasn't until after the game that it came out what his injuries were. There was a lot of coach speak going on there. Look, I get it. When Kevin White was having the issues, it probably irked people that Coach Fox kept saying day to day. He probably had a reason for saying that. I can guarantee you there's no way he didn't know that it was going to be beyond day-to-day. He just wasn't wanting to tell anyone for his strategic or other reasons. And I think potentially that sometimes... let on is all.
You know what was funny there, Dr. Chao, is we lost you there for the last 30 seconds. Did you put us on hold, or did we just lose your signal?
Probably your fans interfered because they didn't like what I was saying about Coach Fox. But, no, I'm just driving home. But what I say in the last 30 seconds is name one coach that doesn't do this. I mean, my example was, look at Phillip Rivers in the AFC Championship game. The Chargers didn't put out that he tore his ACL and had a knee scope. Carson Wentz was said to have an isolated ACL tear, and then 6 weeks later we learned it was his LCL as well. You don't think the Eagles knew he had the LCL when it happened? Just because Coach Fox didn't immediately reveal when Kevin White had a stress fracture, and there was some fear he was going to miss the season because he stayed on the optimistic side and played his cards close to his vest, doesn't make him a bad coach, in my opinion. This is what happens, and obviously he, his pattern irked reporters and fans, but he was trying to look at the big picture, I think.
I think you got to buy the next round of drinks, Dr. Chao. Only because I understand coach speak. There's a difference, I believe, in lying and knowing. There's no advantage you're gaining by lying in that sense. So that's what really frustrated us fans. And obviously there's way more than just his ability to handle a press conference or not handle one. A lot of coaching errors and what have you. Great guy, wrong coach for here. I'm keeping it 100 with you. But I had a question. I had a question for you though. In regards to a coach, and there's questions within the training staff. In regards to a player, what would it be? Elongating an injury that they should have been back several weeks before. Does the doctor get involved in this situation to kind of push? I know you talked about building relationships, but let's face it, some players have a tendency to baby the injury. You had the same coach you were just talking about call out Alshon Jeffrey for his owies. So how do you handle that, and is it best brought through you?
Well, in my time in the league, there was one incident in particular. There were probably a couple, but one in particular where the building felt like a player was babying his injury a little bit. My job is to call it as it is, build the relationships and tell the player. My job is to tell the player, this is what I think you have. This is why I think you have it. This is what your studies show. You're welcome to a second opinion. I think you should be able to turn the corner this week and try and play this week. That's my opinion, but I'm not you or your body. You're the boss of you, and you decide what you're going to do. I would also report the same thing to the team that I would report to the player, so there's no double talk. If there were any controversy, I'd put the GM, head coach, and player in the same room and the agent on the phone if need be, so that there's no controversy in terms of what's going on. If they wanted a second opinion, I'd welcome it. I'd send the films off. I'd coordinate with the other doctor, the doctor the player is choosing, and coordinate it all. There was one time in particular where the coaching staff and the GM said, you need to tell that guy to get out onto the field. And it was during the preseason, actually. And I said, no, that's not my job. That's your position coach's job. That's your coordinator's job, your head coach's job, the GM's job. As a doctor, it's not my role to force a guy onto the field. You can force a guy onto the field by cajoling him, by being friends with him, because you guys have the power. You could force him on the field if you wanted to by fining him. I don't have those powers, and you don't want me to wield those powers because you want me to be fair and objective. So, I'm sorry, what I think it is on my phone for some reason on the Skype, when I get another call in, it somehow cuts out even though I'm not answering. So my bad there. So my point on the story is that as a doctor, you have to maintain your neutrality. It's not my job to force a player on the field. The GM can threaten a fine. The coach can threaten playing time. They're the ones that have to force him on the field if they feel that way. It's not me.
Doctor, do you see the injury situation in the NFL getting worse as time goes on? It appears, I think, to most average fans that despite the rule changes to help protect against head injuries and the sort, that there still seems to be an upcline. And I haven't seen any data to support what I'm saying, but it just seems like there are more injuries now than in years past. What's your opinion on that?
The answer to that is depends on the situation, and it's a yes and it's a no. And I'll clarify. I'm not trying to straddle the fence on the answer. In general, there has not been an increase in injuries over time. If you look at ACLs, there seems to be every year a big clamoring, oh my God, so many ACL injuries. The average number of ACL injuries before week 1 across the league is 23 over the last 5 years. We're at that number now already, so we might be slightly ahead. But in general, it finishes at about 50, about half before week 1 or about half after. That's been relatively constant for a long period of time. There might be over decades a slight increase in foot and ankle and maybe Achilles injuries. But what is notable is that, in 2011, I believe, there was the new CBA, which was supposed to cut down on injuries, less practices, no two-a-days, less contact, etc., mandatory day off per week. And it has not resulted in a decrease of injuries, despite the new safety rules. So you could argue that means there's actually an increase if the new safety rules resulted in a net neutral. But we also have to understand is that when it comes to an ACL or Achilles, that as players get bigger, faster, and stronger, your Achilles tendon girth, your ACL width and strength doesn't grow anymore. My ACL is about the same size as the biggest Bears player on the team. Achilles are about the same size. And a guy who's naturally at 200 pounds but bulks up to 300 pounds, the Achilles doesn't get 50% bigger. So there is a proclivity to have potentially more injuries because of that. But the other reason why there seem to be so many injuries is that there's so much media. There's so many bar rooms. There's you guys out there dissecting every move and injury. And, the third string left guard gets talked about. No offense. And, I'm so busy looking at injuries and I'm not begrudging. But, the amount of social media traffic about Adam Shaheen, obviously he's a good player. Obviously Bears fans are rabid and he's going to be a contributor. I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't have thought of him as a Travis Kelce type guy, but he got a lot of attention. And I think Trey Burton's your starter. So that just goes to tell you that everyone gets dissected and talked about. So it almost seems like there are more because of that.
Why the fuck did I draft him in my fantasy draft? I'm actually a big believer in him, Dr. Chao. I got to let you know, this kid is 6'7", 265 pounds, and has been looking like a football prima donna born. It just getting under his feet from being that fawn that couldn't balance, for lack of a better analogy. He seemed to be getting it, and I'm one of those guys nervous about it because I felt like he was going to play that Kelce role and Burton was going to play that tight end, that move guy. And then you had Shaheen being the lethal weapon that nobody's talking about. So,
well, maybe that's why I'm better off not playing fantasy. I don't really have time.
That's my type of guy right there. No fantasy for me either, Doctor.
Hey, well, my stuff is often used for fantasy, but I tell everyone, I am not a fantasy expert. I'm an injury expert. I can tell you that Adam Shaheen, I don't expect him by video. I don't think he was done for the year. Did I think he had a significant ankle sprain? Yes. Will he be 100% week 1? Probably not. Will he be able to play week 1? He's got a reasonable chance. Now, but whether to draft him or not for fantasy in whatever round or ADP position, that's for you guys to figure out. But from an injury perspective, that's kind of all I talk about.
Hey, Doctor, do you have any thoughts? We had Kyle Long and Akeem Hicks on the show here together, and I brought up to them talking about the field surface, and Phil and I have a slip count that we do every single year for Soldier Field because these guys will be in the middle of making a play, and the sod will make a divot and the player will fall. It could be a big play. and it's been, year after year in Chicago, with the bad weather and the crappy turf. We've heard Ted Phillips, obviously, natural surface is the best way to go. But is that something that the doctors are involved with ownership? When they're when it comes to the stadium and practice facility, the field. Ted Phillips says it's very, very clear that the synthetic surfaces cause a lot more injuries. He says that all the time when asked about it, but it seems like they've made a lot of strides in that area. Is that something that ownership will come to you guys about and talk at all, or do you have any input on that as the type of field surface that would be best for the athletes?
It depends on the team. It depends on the situation. It usually gets filtered through the GMs and potentially coaches and on what surfaces to practice on. The athletic trainers have a lot of say in that because they're with the team full time. I still have my own practice on the side kind of deal. But look, you're right. It's well known that the old AstroTurf was worse for injuries. The new sport grass is better for injuries than the old AstroTurf, but still not as good as natural grass. And even a team that plays on an artificial surface, they do not practice full-time on artificial surface. They practice on grass, and they might practice once a week on the artificial. In general, as much as they can, they practice on grass because no one wants a practice injury, etc. And the reason why there are more injuries with sport grass, and the reason why potentially having a slippery soldier field is to your advantage is for injuries. First of all, the hope is that your own players can get used to your own more slippery field, if it is indeed that, and harder for the visiting team to get used to it, and they have to play on the same surface. But it's well known that the more slippery the field is, the less certain kinds of injuries are, like ACL tears. That's well known. When I had an orthopedic fellow training under me on the sidelines, it'd be raining and misting that one game, and so you watch. We're going to get some hamstring and muscle strains and quad injuries, but no one's going to tear an ACL or get a Liz Frank injury. And that was universally true most of the time. But when it's a great grip game, then those types of Liz Franks and certain ankle injuries and knee injuries increase. Think of it this way. If you're skiing and you're a professional skier and you crank your bindings on really tight, what happens? You're more likely to tear your ACL. Your footing is better. Your ski's more likely to not come off and get caught. When you're a beginner, you put on your skis really lightly with the bindings light so that if you're in a double black, you may step out of your skis, but it never catches and it saves your knees. So the same analogy goes to surfaces. The stickier the surface, the higher the chance of injury. And so that is a known fact. And you really can't have it both ways. A great surface for cutting and no loss of footing, but that potentially increases injuries.
So,
you're
Doctor,
really killing my buzz tonight, Doctor.
You're on round 3. Maybe you need round 4 and 5.
It's going to be a long show.
I was still gripping the glass to my 4th and 5th fingers, and that is a true test, Doc. Bringing the virtual doctor office to every podcast listener tonight.
And those podcast listeners and Bears fans would not be happy with us if we didn't bring up this player. You're obviously familiar with the history of the injuries that Bears former number 1 pick Kevin White has had. And the shoulder injury he suffered last year, nothing really to do with his initial injury suffered during his rookie year, that shin fracture. Do you think there's such a thing as players contacting some sort of injury epidemic like bad karma?
Well, you probably need to consult a witch doctor on that, not an orthopedic doctor.
Have you met Aldo's mom?
Yeah, she's known for the Santeria part of Christian, whatever it's called. Anyway, I think Bears Girl does ask an interesting question because it does seem like some players are just more prone to injuries. In your 17 years in the NFL, did you just get a sense that some players are that way because of something genetically?
Well, it depends on who the player is and what the injury is. Look, if a guy has tight hips and has a groin injury and a sports hernia and a hamstring injury and a adductor strain and on one side and then the other and a hip issue, I would say those 7 or 8 injuries potentially are all related to each other. And if you wanted to label that person injury prone for some reason, maybe that's accurate. But when you're saying that you had a stress fracture from working out too hard and doing too much training, then you had I think if I remember correctly, a traumatic ankle fracture like Odell Beckham had, and then you have this shoulder, I think it's shoulder or pec issue, that's a different body part. I get it. It's a couple years of bad luck in your first-round draft pick and all eyes are on you, but medically, I don't know that that's really related in terms of what's going on. So I would look at the particular injuries and see what the links are. But a lot of times it's not directly linked. Let's take a guy like Rob Gronkowski. Is he injury prone? Well, I mean, he's had a lot of different injuries. And one of the reasons he gets injured a lot is because he's a big SOB and no one can really tackle him. You know, he's gotten at least several knee injuries, including the big bad one, from players trying to tackle him low. Does that make him injury prone? I mean, he takes a lot of hits and shots and so forth. Is he really injury prone, or is he really trying to play through injuries and injuries begetting injuries because you're not 100% when you're playing and you're taking all these shots? So I don't know that injury prone thing is always fair.
Fair enough. Any other questions for the good doctor, guys?
Hey, Doc, were you in San Diego when Larry Pasquale was there, or is he before you?
Remind me again. Don't get me in trouble.
Larry was a special teams coach for the Chargers, but he was there maybe early to 1999, 97.
There was a guy, I think he was the defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name now. Joe Pascal. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
I don't know. Maybe.
Before you. He must have been before you.
And see, A, that proves I'm not that old. And B, Larry.
I got to bring that back.
Larry, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I momentarily forgot your name. Yeah, it's totally possible.
No, I was just saying a long time, because doctors that stay with teams for the importance of keeping these players on the field and taken care of. If you have a long history in the NFL, that just showcases the great doctor that you are. So it actually is a compliment to you. And I couldn't even comprehend how thorough and articulate you are in this whole process, with a great sense of humor, may I add. So I really enjoyed talking to you, and you bring in the perspective, because I really wanted to know, I'm that guy because I coached on the high school level, and I'm looking at, my doctor. I'm like, what the hell's up with this kid? Because he should be on the field, and you want that answer. And he would always, he should be, and you need to, the same kind of rationale. So I wanted to see if it was different when money was involved. So that was
money makes a lot of things different. I enjoyed my time with you guys. I just entered the podcast world myself. I don't think I'm as entertaining as you guys, but I try to be. But if you guys want to check it out, I mean, please, yes. My second podcast, I had my first guest, and it was John Clayton. And I think you guys would appreciate. I mean, if you had John Clayton on for an interview, what would you spend most of your time asking about? I mean, I spent more time asking him about his ponytail Slayer and his Sports Center commercial than anything else.
Good call.
So, Doctor, tell our listeners where they can find you on Twitter and social media, and tell us the name of that podcast and where we can find it.
Twitter is at Pro Football Doc, DOC. All the articles are at the LA Times and Union Tribune, which is profootballdoc.com. And you'll see some Leonard Floyd article and otherwise. And for the podcast, you go to the Twitter handle, you'll see it, but it's Pro Football Doc Podcast. In theory, it's available on iTunes and SoundCloud and all these things that I don't know about. Believe it or not, I'm not a podcast listener, but I started one. So what does that tell you about me? I'm being a little bit silly there, but try to be entertaining. We try and talk about actual injuries, but we try and have a little bit of fun. I mean, how can you not ask John, the professor, about being the professor and all the myths behind that Sports Center commercial?
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I got to tell our listeners that every Sunday during the games, Dr. Chao on Twitter, during halftime of a game, he's giving analysis on injuries that he's seen on video and so forth. Very informative, very entertaining, and I truly appreciate all of the work that you do to better inform us football fans about what's going on with the health of these players.
No problem. And you guys are awesome. I think you're quite popular there, and you guys are doing something right. So a pleasure to be on and have a little bit of fun, too.
I always ask our guests to give us an ID. And if you could say your name and you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio, 100 proof, I can help you if you forget the lines.
There he goes again with the old stuff.
Oh my God!
I'm just joking.
I never actually played football, so I should not have ski. So
look at them. Nice. See, I'll come on your podcast anytime, Joe.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, this is Dr. David Chao, Pro Football Doc, and you're listening to Bears Barroom Podcast, and pleasure to be on.
I got my boy Big Will here. If I said that I had a doppelganger of Matt Forte, he might be it. Big Will, you're a big Bears Barroom fan.
Huge, man. I listen in on the podcast and everything.
That's what I like to hear. Big Will bringing the funk, bringing the flavor. We're going to play a game of word association. Matt Forte.
Me. So that's my jersey number in high school, number 22.
That was mine too, and I'm wearing it now. The double deuce. Brian Urlacher.
My man, yo. The first real jersey that I ever brought. I was out there in Canton, Ohio for the enshrinement. I was on TV right before he got introduced when he showed me in the crowd going like this.
There you go. It was a proud moment for you?
Very, very proud, man. Drove 7 hours to go see that.
Detroit Lions fans.
Man. The Motor City Kitties.
Matt Stafford.
Oh, man. I don't think he's as good as everybody says he is.
Lovie Smith.
I hate to see him get fired after 10 wins, but I wish he was doing better in Illinois right now. I wish he was doing better.
A lot of people do wish he was doing better. Last one here, when I say Bears Barroom.
Oh, man. I can't wait to tune in. Can't wait to hear me.
You sound like me.
And you too. Can't wait to hear.
How cool is that?
I was watching Aldo on screen there, Phil, when you said double deuce, and Aldo's like, I haven't done that in 15 years. I'm jealous.
Yeah, and the doctor didn't help me out with that problem. I want to stress that. I really need to go to a good one, man. It's been a while.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, so Bears Girl, we are, 4 or 5 minutes away from calling the
We are 5 minutes away from the interview of Shane's lifetime.
Is it literally 5 minutes? Are you literally 5 minutes away?
It is literally 5 minutes away, yes.
Hey, I got an idea. How about if all of us just step back and let Shane do a one-on-one interview with
yes.
Oh, the FCC is going to love this. Even though they're not involved, they'll still love it.
Phil, you think you could restrain yourself? Phil is like saying,
You like
"Motherfucker,
that, right?
no
You
way."
like that.
Well done, Phil. Well done.
That was good.
All I had to do was put it on mute.
So you were talking, but it was on mute. I get it.
Unless you want me to, if he starts acting a fool, I gotta jump in like off the top rope,
Absolutely.
like snooker.
Absolutely.
You gotta
but I have
tag in.
total faith in Shane to handle any foolishness from Russell. While we're waiting,
I don't think there's going to be any foolishness from Russell, to be honest with you guys.
my biggest concern is that Russell is gonna not deliver the goods. You know that this is going to be a 15-minute look at the NFL. It's not going to be 100 proof. It's more for Bears on Tap or one of those other boring shows we've got on the network. All right, let's go.
I'm sure Danny Shimon, who's listening in, who's going to be on Bears on Tap with you, is really enjoying that right now.
Well, that's why we brought Danny Shimon onto Bears on Tap to give it some juice. We're going to go back to MOTTS here while we are killing a little time. Next up is Justin.
Justin, where are you from?
I'm from Long Island.
From the Strong Island. Rakim, EPMD, Mitch Trubisky,
Gunslinger.
Aaron Rodgers.
Gunslinger.
That was a long ass pause there. I thought you were going to bring something harder than that. Mike Ditka.
The king. The guy that started it all for me. My guy, Mike Ditka. He started my obsession.
That's how it started, huh? Awesome. Last one, Jordan Howard.
Jordan's a beast. He's like a train.
He's coming in on the train, the J train. Justin, appreciate you coming on with me.
Appreciate, Justin. Appreciate.
Gotta appreciate. I'm in front of an audience. Everyone's moving around to see what I'm saying. There's people around you wanting to get interviewed. It's a lot of fun.
Scroopies.
A lot of fun.
Can we get together and chop it up, Phil?
Maybe a little blog star.
Oh God!
Were there any?
No, let's just let that die, please, for this week.
Were there any hot chicks?
That's the greatest song ever.
Any hot chicks there?
No.
My wife.
That's so rude.
No. I have to ask these questions because our listeners want to know.
They can study the tape, the pictures, and decide on their own.
Yeah, why weren't you in the group picture, Phil? I was looking for you.
I was in the middle of interviewing Sweet. Aldo got her name wrong.
He was chopping it up.
So I was interviewing. I was doing that interview while everyone's screaming, "Yo, come out, take this picture." Will, the doppelganger of Matt Forte, screaming for at the door.
Double deuce.
The double deuce. He not only had Aldo's, dream, the double deuce, but he also was almost interrupted. I felt so bad because I'm interviewing this girl and they're all come on. And I'm like, I got to get the interview. So that's why I wasn't in the picture. But then we took a picture
to the end.
Yeah, gotta do it for Bar. But I will make up the pic when we go, and hopefully Shane joins me. And we'll capture it on video like, Shane, come back.
Phil's going to be on my shoulders. It's going to be an epic picture. It's going to be fantastic.
Epic.
I'm dialing Russell Baxter right now. That's going to be the end of part 1 of this week's Bears 100 Proof. Part 2 will be released shortly.
Come meet me at Portillo's and let's get it on.